Hello, everyone. Welcome to week 13 of the 6-month podcast series, I Quit My Job, Now What? If you are new here, this is a 6-month series, as I mentioned, where I have left my day job and now I'm diving into all the things that I'm working on behind the scenes to build my businesses. So we have Empowered by Women, which is primarily what I've been discussing up until this point. Empowered by Women is a community platform that supports women entrepreneurs, whether they're product-based or service-based. And we have this beautiful monthly membership. We have an online community. We host in-person networking events and fun workshops. And we're gearing up for our annual summit. More on that later. But I also have a second business, which I haven't really talked much about in this series yet. But I have BOOKofBIJOUX, which is a product line. It's a jewelry organizer designed to look like a coffee table book. It's really freaking cute. And I should be getting my newest inventory in the next month or so. I honestly have to double check when that's supposed to come in. But when that happens, there's going to be a lot more conversation regarding that business and me trying to navigate how do I juggle building both. But for now, it has been primarily Empowered by Women. And this series dives into all of the mindset work that I'm doing, all of the relationships that I'm nurturing, the speaking engagements that I'm trying to build as I build my speaker resume. Who am I talking to? How am I getting on these stages? We're going to be talking about all the strategies and systems that I'm putting into place. So if you are a woman entrepreneur, small business owner, if you are thinking about leaving your day job or have already left it, and maybe you're even just curious about what my life is like and what I'm working on, this podcast is for you. So this week is week 13, which is crazy. It still blows my mind that that makes it 3 months since I left my day job. And saying that out loud now feels a little surreal, if I'm being completely honest. Like, it doesn't feel like it's been that long. It doesn't. And I almost feel like my initial reaction is probably a reaction that we all can tend to have in terms of, should I have accomplished more than I have in these past 3 months? Because I feel like maybe I'm not as far along as I should be. And I know that we all can tend to get in our heads about that, about having this timeline and wanting to achieve certain things in a certain time frame. At the end of the day, I have those thoughts. Those thoughts come into my mind every now and then, but I've also gotten to a place, which I'm really proud of being aware enough to know, like, that's not my reality and that I can reflect on all of the amazing things that have happened and see the progress that we've been making. And I recognize that something that you'll hear me mention often is doing the foundational work. And I say that for a reason, because we're doing the intense, we're in the trenches, we're laying down the foundation, we're pouring the concrete, and then we're going to build the house on top of that, right? We're going to build the empire on top of that continues to be this legacy that we leave for generations beyond us. So I definitely still feel like I'm in the foundation building stages. There's a lot of organizational work that we're doing, a lot of expanding our team, and what does that look like? Matter of fact, I want to make a note to myself before I forget. And of course, I unplugged my keyboard. But anyways, because we're in that stage where it's interesting, because it's like we're growing so much, but also we're still not growing in all of the areas that I want to grow. And it's just this gray area that I'm in. So definitely saying out loud that I've been out of my day job for the past 3 months and been solely focusing on building the business, part of me does feel like, man, there's so much that I feel like I still need to do in order to build this up enough so that it continues to sustain me as full-time self-employed. But at the same time, I am giving myself grace that it is a possibility that I will have to find a regular 9 to 5 again in the future, potentially part-time. I don't know. We'll see. And I'm not going to be using that as a marker of whether or not I was successful in these 6 months. Does that make sense? Like, it might happen, I'm not relying on it to happen as, okay, like I feel safe because I have a backup plan. Like I'm still going full throttle in building the business enough so that I don't have to do that. But I'm also not going to kick myself if that happens to be the case. Part of me was actually thinking about it the other day. I was like, that could be really exciting because I could find a position that I really love and that I enjoy the work that I do there. And I would be totally good with that. But again, ideally, I would love to stay fully self-employed. I would love to have complete control over my schedule. As much as I could say that, being a mom of 3 kids, so far, I feel like we have done a lot, but I do still feel like there is so much to do. And a lot of it lately has just been trying to get organized on the back end, get my VA up to date with all the things that are in my head that I need her to take over so that it can be moved off my plate and so that I could focus on the more visionary things, the bigger partnerships, the things that are really going to propel us forward. I am trying to get all of that organized. So, aside from having my weekly meetings with my VA, which I feel like I've talked on before, so I don't really want to dive too much into that. We're still having them weekly. I'm still supporting her a little bit more hands-on, and we're having those conversations together of, okay, how can we make this a little bit easier? We've been looking at her monthly schedule more from like a bird's eye view, like an overview of, okay, instead of these are the 30 tasks that I need you to get done, let's focus on segmenting everything. So this is going to be your usual tasks for the first week of the month. These are usual tasks for the third week of the month and the last week of the month so that you don't feel so overwhelmed to get it done right away. We have noticed that there are a couple of tasks that I'm like, okay, this needs to be something that you just check in with every morning before you start your day because we cannot fall behind on that. And those are little things with like when we get different subscribers or different members, like we cannot fall behind on serving the people that are in our community because that is the whole purpose of our platform, to serve them, and we need to do so timely. So that's been really the biggest thing, coming up with that monthly schedule. Aside from that, we had this beautiful event that happened last weekend, last Thursday. It was our Authenticity in Action event, and it was in partnership with the Spinsters of San Francisco. I briefly touched on it last week. And I guess this week, since we posted our last episode kind of late, I'll dive into that a little bit more too. But it was such a beautiful event. And it was another one of those things where it was like, oh my gosh, okay, we only have 6 registrations. And then come to the event, it was like 25 gals. I think it was a really beautiful crowd full of really amazing women that genuinely wanted to connect with other people. And the conversation was so good. The few days leading up to that event, I was just so hyped up for it because I just knew that the energy was going to be everything that I needed and everything that I was excited to pour into other people. And the panel did not disappoint. Okay. We had Nikki Thomas, who's this beautiful radio personality. We had Kate Zeus, who is one of our members. She drove up from LA. She is a self-presentation mastery expert. And then we had Alina LeBlanc of LeBlanc Label, who is a wardrobe stylist and an amazing human overall. And the conversation was just so great. Jacelyn from the Spinsters moderated the panel, and she did a really amazing job with that. And the cool thing is, like, being in those spaces, as someone that is trying to develop my speaking and hone in on that craft a little bit more and refine it, it's such an awesome experience to be surrounded by other speakers and to observe the way that they speak, the way that they carry themselves, and the way that Jacelyn was moderating that panel. I have had plenty of people tell me in the past that I'm a great interviewer, but I feel like I learned a lot from observing her. And also, I recorded our panel as well. And I learned a lot from just listening to myself. From that and from the event that I did from the Mornings with Meanings thing, I listened back to that and I can hear it in my voice sometimes how I don't know, I don't even know what the proper verbiage is, but sometimes like when I get so casual or feel very comfortable, like I can feel that there's this tone, this undertone in the way that I talk and I drag things out a little bit. But I was playing with it in the car of like, how do I adjust that tone? I don't know if you can tell the difference. I just did it just now about like how like I could use to talk. And I feel like I'm exaggerating right now in this moment, but you can hear that. I don't know, there's like a noise. There's a layer of noise underneath the way that I'm speaking, but I can work on removing that as I talk. And I realized as I was practicing doing that in the car, that helps me to project better when I'm being very mindful of the way that my sound is coming out. So for anyone that is out there that is looking to refine your speaking skill, the best way to do it is by putting yourself out there and allowing yourself to listen back to yourself so that you can have an honest reflection of what your strengths are and what you want to improve on. But that event went really well, and we are in talks with very casually mentioned whatever other events you have coming up. I would love to continue supporting. We can make this a long-term partnership. Even if you need just one-off workshops and facilitators, and even if it's not me, we have plenty of the women in our community that would love to be able to support. So just let me know what your needs are. And this is a tip that I have for all of my gals out there that are trying to get more comfortable with building these relationships and understanding what that looks like. Just because your event that you collaborated with someone is one and done, there's still opportunity to keep that partnership going or to keep that relationship going so it's a long-term partnership. So always keeping it open and having that open-ended relationship of whatever you need next, let's continue to support each other, and then actually meaning it when you say that. I think there are so many people that say, "Oh, I would love to connect. Oh, I would love to do something," but don't actually back it with any action. So if you're going to say that, be intentional about it, because at the end of the day, you're the one that's going to help move yourself forward, right? If you are trying to build a network, it's not going to happen if you are expecting everyone to follow up with you. You have to be the one that is intentional with how you're nurturing that relationship. So I'm just excited for what could potentially continue to come out of our relationship with the spinsters, but it was a really great event. I connected with a few different women there that are definitely interested in being part of the Empowered by Women community. And that is honestly why we continue to host these events, to support just the women in our community in general, but to also give them a taste of what it's like to be a part of Empowered by Women. All of the panelists were Empowered by Women members, and they get to see, oh, if I'm part of this community, I could potentially be on stage speaking with them at one of their future events. And we did have some that are wanting to do more speaking and that felt inspired by it. And the conversation, I wish you guys could be there because the conversation was so good. And it really was about, how do you show up authentically? How do you be confident but not arrogant? And how do you present that? And how do you present yourself? And how do you convey like all of the things that you want to convey without, I don't know, like being perceived in a negative way or whatever. I don't know. I feel like my brain is not working as well as I would like it to right now. But it really is about checking in with yourself and saying like, how do I feel? What would make me feel good in this moment? And how do I show up to make myself feel the way that I want to feel? How do I want people to perceive me? And how do I show up to make sure that I have the most control over how they're perceiving me? Is that dressing a certain way? Is that making sure you're intentional about getting your morning routine in the day of your big event so that you can show up with the energy that you want to show up with? What does that look like? And are you allowing all of this kind of external noise to dictate how you should be showing up without actually checking in with your intuition? What does that look like? One of my favorite parts of the conversation was also about preparation and having a structure, but allowing yourself to play within that structure. And what I mean is that we all have different things going on in our lives that we can prepare for, but I do absolutely believe there is such thing as over preparation, and that over preparation can actually stunt you from living up to your fullest potential, right? That can really stunt you from showing up as authentically as possible. My mouth is getting so dry, you guys. Excuse me. Anyways, as I was saying, what was I saying? One of the things that I did for my very first speaking engagement was like over prepare like crazy. And one thing that I've learned is that when you over prepare, you don't give yourself time and space to play within that structure that you've created. And I think that part is so important because that's where your truest self comes through. That's where your magic comes through. That's where your zone of genius comes through when you allow yourself the space to get the download and to share what's ever on your heart and mind and soul in that moment. And that is how you can connect deeper with the people that you're speaking to, right? Whether you're delivering a keynote, whether you are having some kind of presentation, whatever it is, not being so structured will actually allow you to present even stronger. And I'm trying to think if I think that's the rule, like in every instance. And I'm going to go ahead with yes. I don't really like blanket statements, but generally speaking, I'm going to say yes. It's better to prepare enough and to give yourself space to play and to build the confidence enough that you've internalized the confidence and that you trust yourself enough to play in the structure that you've created. I think that's what I'm going to say. So self-trust is definitely something that oh my gosh, my throat is like going crazy. Is something that I've really has become one of my strengths, I think, because it's given me that opportunity to go to that mornings with meanings event and to just give myself 4 bullet points off the top of my head to work with and to just allow myself to speak. So I think that's really beautiful. Anyways, I'm going to move on because I feel like I'm losing my train of thought. Other conversations that I have started and that I'm going to continue nurturing as part of me building my network and me building relationships that I believe are going to move the needle forward with me. There is a girl that I saw that is a journalist. So she wrote for a local magazine and I came across her because someone else posted their article feature. And in the caption, she said, "Thank you to blah, blah, blah for interviewing me," or whatever, or for writing this. And so I went to that girl's page that she tagged and I looked a little bit at it. I looked at the magazine that she's a journalist for. And then I sent her a voice message and I said, "Hey, actually, I don't even think I sent a voice message this time because it was like in the middle of the night and I was with my kids." And I basically wrote, "Hey girl, like I saw your article that you did for so-and-so magazine, loved it. I feel like I said something along the lines of I would love to chat about a potential partnership. I feel like your audience is very aligned with mine and we can definitely support each other in that. Would you be free for a call next week?" And this is a tip that I picked up within the last year or so of not just saying, "Let's hop on a call," and then that's it, but actually being specific of when do you want to meet or like dropping the booking link instead of leaving the onus on them to be like, "Yeah, let's book a call or whatever. Let's meet up." You know how you have those friends where you're always like, "Let's meet up, let's grab some coffee." And then it's a year later and then you finally do it. When it comes to business, we have to be more intentional with it. So I really wanted to prioritize this connection. So I didn't just say, "Hey, let's book a call. Here's my booking link." I said, "Are you free to chat this week at this time or this week at this time?" And then she said, "Yes, let's chat. Like here, this time I'm available. Does that work?" I said, "Perfect. Should I send over a link? What's your email?" And then she sent over her email. So we're going to be chatting. And that is how I build partnerships. People have asked me, like, "How do you do it? Where do you find all these people?" That is literally how I do it. I find people through people, and then I start the conversation, and I do it with authenticity and transparency and integrity. And I'm not just like spamming people left and right. Like I actually have a message and a vision in my head of what a potential partnership could look like. And I start opening the door to that possibility. So that's one relationship that I am now nurturing. Another is an event organizer that I connected with on LinkedIn. She posted something recently about like a summit that she was at, and I did a little bit more digging, and she has another upcoming event, and I sent her a voice note through LinkedIn. That was the first time I sent a voice note on LinkedIn, but I sent her a voice note essentially almost saying the same thing, but of course more tailored towards her, and said, "Hey, I saw that you're hosting this event. Like, all of these summits look amazing. I would love to chat about how I can support you for your future events, because again, I think we're like, our missions are aligned." And then same thing, "Would you be free to chat at this time next week?" And she said yes. And I said, "Okay, amazing." And I feel like not a lot of people, I haven't had a lot of great connections on LinkedIn yet. I'm still very much in the process of building that and nurturing that. So she is one of the people that I feel like a next date happened. Obviously, it's not a date, but my words are not working. So we're going to go with next date. Basically, we start the conversation and we're looking at actually linking up and communicating about something at a specified future date. So looking forward to keeping you updated on that. Another thing that I did is that we went to this cultural festival in our neighborhood this past weekend, and there were vendors there. So of course I knew a few of them, and I made my rounds and chatted with the people that I did know. Though that's just one of the very, very simple ways to nurture the relationships that you have. Being intentional with going around and just saying hi, and not even talking about what can we do together, like how can I support you? Oh, do you have an event coming up that I can speak at? But really just saying, "Hey, how's it going? How's everything been? How's your family? How's your dog?" Just checking in, and that goes a long way. So at that festival, I reconnected with someone who I had hopped on a call with previously, or no, we had chatted with in person previously and had this beautiful conversation about potentially collaborating with each other. And it was just one of those things where we hadn't had the chance to follow up. So that was my push to be like, "Oh yeah, didn't we talk about bringing you onto our pop-up program? Let me make sure I get all the details sent to you." So just immersing myself in community aside from just our own events is definitely something that I want to make sure I'm intentional about doing. Let's see. Another thing that we did, I don't know if I mentioned our summit, our summits during my last episode, but we did share that let me put this microphone down before the audio is all crazy. We did share that our annual summit is coming back. That's happening November 15th. Okay, so everyone that is listening to this, I don't care where you are, block out your calendar and be prepared to travel out to the Bay Area on November 15th, because this is going to be such an amazing summit. I'm so excited for it. I have the landing page ready. It's not live yet, and I don't have the tickets live yet, but that is something that I plan on doing, getting done within the next week or two, to have those tickets up and ready. And what we'll be doing is sending it out to our members first, because there's going to be a very limited amount of early bird tickets. And then we're going to send it out to our full subscriber list. So get on our email list if you're not already. And then we're going to share about it on our socials. But really excited. And the landing page is so freaking cute. So super excited about that. Okay. One last thing that I did also, because one of my goals is to get really good. I don't know if I want to say get really good, but have a much better understanding of my finances with the business, and just like overall the KPIs and all of the data. I want that to be something that I regularly look at, so that I know what do we need to focus on a little bit more of, where's our weakness, and do a little bit more kind of, my brain is really just failing me today. But being able to make decisions based on me reviewing all of that data, that's what I want to be able to do. And for some reason, I just found out that on Wix, which is where we have our website, I could subscribe to monthly reports. And I was like, why have I not done that before? Because there are some other reports that I get monthly, like the Instagram statistics or whatever, like how many followers you got, how many likes, how many comments. And I do move those over to the KPI folder that I have in my inbox. because I do pay attention to that. I don't care super fully about our Instagram stats, but with our like membership and everything like that, I would go into Wix and I would figure out where are these charts, and I would always forget where these charts are and which one was I looking at to pull these numbers. And then I realized, oh my gosh, I could just subscribe and it could show me the reports that I want to see so that I'm not constantly having to look for them every single month. So I finally subscribed to that, and that's like game changing. I feel like that what is a perfect kind of addition to what I was talking about last week in terms of finding these little inconveniences in your life and figuring out what solutions are available to you so you can make your life a little bit easier on yourself. And that was one of them, because I spent a lot of time, a lot of stress trying to figure out what the heck chart was I looking at? What report was I looking at to pull these numbers for like our membership statistics? And now that I'm going to get these monthly emails, I basically will just take that email and then plug it into the finance chart that I have in Notion. So I'm going to end it there. Today is really supposed to be my monthly checklist day. So I blocked out pretty much the first couple of days and the last couple of days of every month to make sure I can take care of the admin work. I don't know if anyone else does that. I'm curious to see what all of you guys do in terms of paying attention to your finances. And do you have a day carved out of your schedule where you do solely look at your data and compare it to like your monthly trends or whatever, your year-to-date statistics and numbers and all of that? If you guys have some kind of way that you do that, I would love if you could let me know what that looks like on your end, because I'm curious. So I'm going to end this podcast here. I feel like this was just like a jumble of all random things for this week, but I'm going to end it here and I'm going to take care of my monthly checklist, and I will see you all next week.